प्रवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। हरि ओम। So we were seeing the reply to this question, Paramaka Atma, which is the Supreme Atma. Anatma was described and it is answered first because what is not the Atma has to be known. So what is not the Atma has to be known first. So that our difficulty is the false identification with the Atma. And so what is Anatma was described earlier. And having said that, once a person understands all this is not the Atma, then the negation is possible when in the seat of contemplation one says not this, not this, not this. What ultimately remains is the Atma. And so 10 verses now are pointers of the Atma. So we saw the first two of them. 124, he said that now he is going to speak about that Supreme Atma, knowing which the person becomes free and experiences a state of oneness. Then the pointer started. Asti kaschit swayam nityam. There is one eternal factor, which is the very source of the feeling of I, aham pratyaya lambanaha. Avasthatraya sakshi, it is the illuminer of the three states of consciousness, and pancha kosha vilakshana, different from the five koshas. Now moving ahead. Yo vijanati sakalam jagrat swapna sushuptishu buddhi tadvritti sadbhavam abhavamahamityayam. So it says yo vijanati sakalam, that which knows everything. In what? See, generally when we say everything, we only mean in the world outside, in the waking state. Here what it is said, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushuptishu. In all the three states. Because remember, that is our relative existence. We generally consider only waking state as the relative, as our existence and as real. But one who illumines all the three knows what is happening in all the three. Yo vijanati sakalam jagrat swapna sushuptishu. Buddhi tadvritti sadbhavam. How does it know? Through the vritti, because it illumines the objects through the thought. So we also know what we know is because of thought. How is that thought arising? We saw that last time. The definition is thought is equal to object plus consciousness. So every object illumined by consciousness is a thought. And through the thought that one knows the presence of something as well as the absence also. Abhavam, sadbhavam, abhavam. Ahamiti ayam. The true I is this, which knows the presence as well as the absence. Like this tube light. The tube light will illumine whatever is below it. If people come, the tube light illumines that. If people go, tube light illumines the absence. The illuminer is never affected by the illumined. Illumined comes and goes. So what is that in me? First of all, yo vijanati. We generally think that the body means the eyes perceive by themselves, the ears hear by themselves, the mind feels by itself. The next verse will clarify that also, but they are inert. By themselves, they cannot know anything. What is that factor in me because of which these are capable of even knowing? Yo vijanati sakalam. That is the true knower. By itself, the eye cannot see, but enlivened by the consciousness, when the mind identifies with the body, then the body becomes capable of perception. So, who sees the objects? We may say, I see. Who is that I? That I is the pure consciousness right now reflecting through this one subtle body. So, the ultimate knower is that consciousness. And that ultimate knower never becomes the known. Every other knower becomes the known. What does that mean? It's called Drigdrishya Vivek. The discrimination between the seer and the seen. So very nice line is in Drigdrishya Vivek. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik. The objects are seen, the eye is the seer. Rupam Drishyam. So with one eye, we see so many different varieties, colors, forms, objects which are existing. People, many things. So Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik. Eye is the seer, the world of objects is the seen. Then eye becomes the seen. Mind is the seer. Tadrishyam Drittu Manasam. Today my eyes are working fine. Sometimes I get some dust particle. Sometimes there is some error in my vision. Then I have to go to a doctor. Who knows the conditions of these eyes? When the eye is able to see the form, eye is the seer, form is the seen. When the mind is able to know what is the condition of these eyes, mind is the seer, eye is the seen. Until the mind is there behind the eyes will not even be able to recognize what it sees. So eye is the seer, eye is the seen, mind is the seer. Thoughts will arise. Then only the mind, then only the eye is able to recognize, oh, this is what it is. So the eyes see, mind recognizes the condition of what the eyes are as well as what the eyes see. Mind by itself doesn't get affected by it. Because the law is simple, the seer cannot get affected by the seen. Eyes see so many objects, but those objects don't affect the eye. They don't color the eye. Eye remains as it is. So the forms are many, forms are seen, eye is the seer. Is the eye able to see on its own? No. Unless the mind backs it, eye cannot see. So the mind is the seer, eye is the seen. The conditions of the mind also, they keep changing. Drishya dhivrittaya sakshi. There is a witness in me which observes even the changes in the mind. The thoughts come, the thoughts go. Different qualities of thoughts. Sometimes in deep sleep there is no thought. The presence and the absence of the thoughts, the quality, the quantity, all that the mind goes through the changes. There is an observer in me which observes those changes also. Drishya dhivrittaya. Who is observing that? Sakshi, that is a witness. So the form is the seen, eye is the seer. Then eye is the seen, mind is the seer. Now mind is the seen, witness is the seer. Now is there anybody else that watches this witness also? Says no, Drigevan natu drishyate. Sakshi is only the ultimate seer. It never becomes the seen. So who is the ultimate seer, the hearer, the taster, the smeller, the toucher? Is the Sakshi, consciousness. Yo vijanati sakalam, that which illumines everything and knows everything. Presence and absence, both. So generally, no knowledge is only limited to what we know or what is present. But what is absent also one is illuminating that. That is a Sakshi. And what we know is we limit it to only waking state. No, waking, dream, deep sleep. In waking and dream, experiences are present. In deep sleep, everything becomes unmanifest. But both the situations are illumined by one consciousness. Yo vijanati sakalam. Jagrat swapna sushuptishu. So what does that mean? I am that witness, uninvolved, unaffected observer of everything happening in the three states. Meaning, why should I be affected? Because of me, the consciousness, mind is able to know many things. Mind state also, I, the consciousness, know. So I am not the mind. I am not the senses. I am not the things that I see. I am not this body. In this way, one has to identify with the self and detach from the not self. Yo vijanati sakalam jagrat swapna sushuptishu buddhi tadvritti sadbhavam abhavam ahamityayam. Aham iti ayam. What is that which is knowing everything? Aham. The true I in me is that. Aham iti ayam is that which we are calling as Atma. Is that which we want to know. Aham iti ayam. So it's not a blank, it's not a zero. It is that which experiences, which illumines even the absence, which illumines even the blank, the nothingness. If something is experienced or it is not experienced, in the waking and dream we keep experiencing various things. In the deep sleep, nothing. But the Atma illumines both. So Atma is not a state of blank. Many people think Atma is Shunya. Buddhist philosophy says Atma is Shunya. The ultimate state is a blank, is nothingness. Who knows that nothingness? Simple example, if somebody comes, you log into the session in the morning. The first person who logs in says, nobody has logged in. But to know that nobody has logged in, you have to be there. So how is it nobody? You are existing and you are there to see that nobody has come. When everybody logs in, then you say everybody has come. And when everybody logs out, the last person to log out is observing, okay, everybody went. The presence and the absence, both is seen by one entity. It cannot be that only presence is seen by the entity. And the absence is a blank. Nobody will know the blank. Who knows the blank? That means that person is different from that blank or from that absence. So aham iti ayam. There is a true I. That is this. Ayam means that. Ayam means that. It is this subject, sorry. Aham iti ayam, this one. So in us there is that presence which will observe the presence of everything, absence of everything, which will be there even when thoughts are not there. So in the state of contemplation, what am I trying to attempt is to know this pure consciousness, not to just become thoughtless, not to just make my mind single pointed, not to just make it dull, blank. No. Try to know that my nature is this. Identify with this consciousness. Aham iti ayam. This is what is said even in the Kena Upanishad. That the student actually goes to the teacher asking that. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Illumined by what, empowered by what does the mind experience the world of objects? Kena prana prathama prayita yukta. How does the prana function? Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti. How does the speech speak? Chakshu Shrotram Kaudevo Yunakti. How do the eyes and the ears perceive? So perception, pranas, mind, speech, meaning body, speech, breath, mind. All the four. By themselves they cannot do anything. There is some other illuminating factor, which is the student has thought so much that there is some other factor. And then he has gone to the teacher asking that question. This is the answer for that. Yo vijanati sakalam jagrat swapna sushuptishu. Now, as we saw the Drigdrishya Vivek, the seer becomes the seen. Except the ultimate seer, the eye at one point is the seer, at other point becomes the seen. So in this way, does consciousness also become the seen? Or consciousness also is known as any other object? The next verse clarifies, saying, no, that is not possible. Yap pashyati swayam sarvam, yam na pashyati kaschana, yaschetayati buddhyadi, natadyam chetayatyayam. Yap pashyati swayam sarvam, that which experiences everything on its own. Swayam sarvam. The word swayam is very important to make us aware that the consciousness is the source of all knowledge. We may say, okay, consciousness illumines the mind and then only through that only the consciousness knows. No. As we saw earlier, in the deep sleep state, mind does not exist. Still consciousness is that which illumines everything, the absence of everything. And that's why a beautiful line in the Upanishad is Pashyati achakshuhu sashrunomi akarnaha. Consciousness is that which can see without the eyes and hear without the ears. And in the language of devotion it is said Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. It has thousand eyes, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat, 1,000 feet. Meaning it is all pervasive reality. It is not one limited entity. So Swayam, it knows because the nature of the consciousness is Chit, Chaitanya. It is because of that consciousness there is an ability in the eyes, in the senses, in the mind to function. It is not that consciousness is dependent on that. So Yaha Pashyati Swayam Sarvam. Yaha Pashyati Swayam Sarvam. So if the example, if we give, fire is required for cooking. Now this fire, we keep a vessel on the gas and we put various things in that and then we cook. And the fire is heating the vessel and the vessel is transferring that heat to the food and that's how the food is getting cooked. Now one feels that no, fire, a vessel by itself will cook. The heat belongs to the vessel. Heat doesn't belong to the vessel. Or without fire, without vessel, the fire cannot heat. Both are wrong. Directly also one can cook. What is it called? Barbecue or something. Directly one cooks. No vessel is required in between. It will get heated. Because the heat belongs to the fire, not to the vessel. Fire can heat with the vessel or without the vessel, both. Consciousness knows, because it's the nature of consciousness, illumination. What one doesn't understand is that mind without consciousness cannot know, but consciousness without the mind can know. That's the beautiful aspect of it. Yah pashyati swayam sarvam. Even if the mind is not there, one will still know. In fact, that one knows much more. One says, who knows? We always think only the mind knows. And if the mind is not there, then we will not know. It's like saying that the vessel is cooking. If the vessel is not there, cooking won't happen. The nature of Chaitanya is to illumine. Consciousness is the ultimate knower. If mind is there, yes, through the mind one knows. Mind is not there, also one knows. The nature of knowledge is consciousness. There the division of knower and the known is not required. We always think only when the knower contacts the known, then the knowledge will arise. That is as far as the equipment is concerned. Only when the vessel is there, the fire will heat the vessel and then the cooking will happen. But in the fire, no vessel is required. By itself, fire doesn't require any vessel. Same way, the nature of Chaitanya is it doesn't require this entity called Mr. Knower, who will then contact the known and then knowledge will arise. The Mr. Knower is getting the power from that consciousness. So, Yah Pashyati Swayam and Sarvam, everything it knows, nothing is left which is unknown to consciousness. That's why the Lord is called in our heart Antaryami, one who controls us from inside, one who knows our desires and thoughts even before we know. It may be somewhere in our deep subconscious, unconscious mind, but consciousness is illumining both. Till it doesn't come to our conscious mind, we don't recognize it. But consciousness knows it much before us. Yah Pashyati Swayam Sarvam. Yam na pashyati kaschana. But nobody knows it because it's not an object to be known. It is the source of all illumination. Two beautiful examples Gurudev used to give. In a dark room, using the battery, a person puts on the battery, the torch, and one is seeing so many things in the dark room. What all is kept there? Here is the sofa, here is the fridge, here is the TV, here is the table. One is seeing all that. Now, one wants to know, the bulb wants to know the source from where this light is coming. If you remove that bulb, if you dismantle that torch, the light is gone. Then how will we know what is the source? The bulb cannot see by itself what is the source of this light. And if you put it back, then the source is not seen. So if you remove it also, the source is not seen. If it is there also, the source is not seen. Why? Because it is that which is illumining the bulb. If you remove that, the bulb will not have any power to see. And if you don't remove that, the bulb cannot know what is behind it because it's the very source. So that is one example to say that our body, mind, intellect, pranas, they all are functioning. By themselves, they cannot know what is this. But then how to know this? That's the difference. This knowledge and every other knowledge. In this knowledge, the false sense of I, if I dissolve, the real I will come out, which is this. Chetayati ayam. Ayam is this. In every other knowledge, I, small I has to remain and it has to gain everything else. In this, that small I has to dissolve. Then the person understands, oh, this is me. The true I is me. So, Swayam Sarvam Yah Pashyati, Yamna Pashyati Kaschana, meaning it is not an object of consciousness, an object of knowledge. It is a very subject, the source, and it's actually beyond subject and object, both. Second example is very lovely example. One bird sees the reflection of itself in the mirror. And when it sees its own reflection in the mirror, the bird feels, oh, there is one more bird. So it plays with that bird. And then it wants to meet that bird. So it goes behind the mirror. The moment it goes behind the mirror, it sees, oh, where is that bird? And it feels very scared. very insecure. Oh, that bird went away. And then again it comes in the front of the mirror and says, oh, thank God, the bird is not gone, it is there. And the bird starts playing with the reflection again. Again, after some time, it goes behind and sees, Arey, there is no bird. How foolish is that? Same thing one is doing here. What we are seeing in this whole world is actually a reflection of consciousness only. But when we try to see consciousness, this whole thing disappears. And we wonder, Arey, what happened? Where is that consciousness? Where is the world? But who is the knower of all this which has disappeared? I, that pure I is this. So it cannot be known as an object. So the knowledge here is, Gurudev would always say, in the language of devotion, he would say that nobody can know Narayana. And loudly he would roar in the Yajnashala. Nobody can know Narayana. And those who are sleeping will wake up. And they will say, they will think, Swamiji, you should have told this to us before, that nobody can know Narayana. Then what are we trying to do? Unnecessary getting up early in the morning, coming to the talks, getting ready and putting so much effort. If nobody can know Narayana, what is the point? And he would again roar, nobody can know Narayana. Narayana alone knows Narayana. And you are that Narayana. Meaning, consciousness is that because of which everything is known. It's an infinite cause. Nobody can know it because it's not a finite thing. But then how to know it? Know that you are that Narayana. Yamna pashyati kaschana. Nobody knows it as what? As an object, nobody can know it. But as one's own self, one can know it. That's the difference. Everything else I can know only as an object. I cannot know as myself. And thank God for that. Otherwise, what I will become? Whatever I know, if I become, terrible it will be. Consciousness alone is that which, when I know it, I can know it only by knowing it as myself. The Mundaka Upanishad said, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. So, Yamna Pashyati Kaschana. Yaschetayati Buddhyadi. Because it is the illuminer of the Buddhi. Adi means mind, senses, everything. Why they cannot know it? Because it's the very illuminer. Like the battery illumines the bulb and then the torch is able to give the light. So that bulb cannot see the battery in its light. When it disconnects from the battery, the light is gone. So in that same way, yas chetayati buddhyadi, natadyam chetayati ayam. And buddhi cannot illumine the consciousness. The reverse is not possible. The vessel cannot give heat to the fire. Fire alone can give, is one-way traffic. Illumination is possible only through the source of illumination, which is consciousness. The inert cannot illumine the conscious. Consciousness can illumine the inert. So, yas chetayati buddhyadi, nacha datadyam chetayatyayam. So, this is the nature of that pure consciousness. Now, one may say, acha, there is one small consciousness in myself, which is illumining this buddhi, which is further illumining the mind, which is further illumining the senses. One little dot somewhere in deep in my heart. The verse says, no, it is not small. See the next verse. Yena vishwamidam vyaptam yamna vyapnoti kinchana abharupamidam sarvam yam bhantam anubhatyayam. It says, Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam. It is that consciousness which is pervading the whole universe. Idam Vishwam Yena Vyaptam. That's why we say Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam. This whole universe of moving and non-moving, inert and sentient things is pervaded by what? By consciousness. Today, science also is recognizing the primacy of consciousness. That the fundamental basis of this whole universe is not matter, it is consciousness. Brain is matter. Everything cannot be explained only through the brain. After the chat is over, after this talk is over, I will put one link that how interesting discussion is happening between two scientists. And what are they discussing? That how there is a reality which is consciousness, and not that consciousness is a product of our brain. Because one person says consciousness is product of brain, the other person is saying it is not. And how the whole world is the play of consciousness. Matter also is a byproduct of that only. It's an appearance of that, not byproduct. It's an appearance of this consciousness. So quantum physics is coming to that. Yena Vishwamidam Sarvam. Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam. This whole universe is pervaded by consciousness, including the inert things. There's nothing called inert from that standpoint. Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam. Yamna Vyapnoti Kinchana. But nothing pervades it. Meaning, there is no object which can empower this consciousness. Why? Abharupamidam Sarvam. It is of the nature of knowledge, light. Abharupamidam Sarvam. Yambhantam Anubhatyayam. And it is because of this consciousness that everything else is able to, like the mind is able to feel, the eyes are able to see. They are able to illumine their respective objects because of this consciousness. So now this is the verse. Even from law of cause and effect, if we see, cause pervades the effect, like the mud. The mud pervades the entire pot. Effect is limited, cause is unlimited. Mud is so much mud is available. Pot is only one pot. This much mud only it can take. But the cause, mud, is vast, is infinite actually. In that same way, the cause pervades the effect. The effect does not illumine the cause. Meaning, the mud can remain without the pot, but pot cannot remain without the mud. So who is dependent on whom? Cause is not dependent on the effect. Effect is dependent on the cause. And hence the cause is that which is pervading the effect. Without the cause, effect does not remain. This whole universe came from where? The whole universe came from this pure consciousness. Consciousness, as we saw, illumines the presence as well as the absence. The world as well as our own thought. The presence and the absence of thought is illumined by consciousness. So consciousness does not depend on thought. Thought depends on consciousness. That's why it says here, Yambhantam Anubhatyayam. It's because of this that the thoughts are functioning. And the best part is using the thought, we try to deny that consciousness only. Which God, what God? God does not exist. And so Gurudev used to say very nicely, even to say that God does not exist, you need the grace of God. Meaning to say that there is no consciousness also, consciousness is required. How will you say otherwise? How will the thought rise otherwise? What is that which is making this inert function? One is not doing anything for it. So, Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam. So, this consciousness in me is that consciousness which pervades the whole universe. So, it is not one small little consciousness which is there inside my heart somewhere. Because many people think like that. The consciousness of the ant is small. Consciousness of human is big. Consciousness of elephant is very big. Consciousness does not go by the size of the matter, please. There is no percentage of consciousness. 5% in ant, 50% in human, 100% in elephant. No. No, but this is such a huge body. This is such a small body. Same consciousness enlivening both. That's the wonder. Empowering matter is happening by the same consciousness. Same fire will light a small vessel and huge, what we call those big vessels, or in the kitchens there are no big in kitchens where for mass the cooking happens. Huge things are illumined by that fire. Fire is the same. Power to illumine is the same. Fire, of course, has a limitation. The example, there is more fire is required there. But the point is the power to illumine is the same. Consciousness illumines the whole universe, pervades the entire universe. So it's not inside me, one small thing, one. Also, it is not that my consciousness is different from your consciousness. Madatma sarva bhutatma. The Atma in me is the Atma in all. How to understand that? The same sun reflecting in 100 buckets of water, it appears as 100 reflections. It appears as 100 reflections because of 100 buckets, not because of that the sun has become so small and gone into each, and each sun is different. No. One consciousness pervades the hearts of all. Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam. It pervades the entire universe. Yamna Vyapnoti Kaschana. Now, pervasiveness in our culture, in Vedanta, is understood from subtlety's point of view. That which is more subtle is more pervasive. That which is gross is less pervasive. So our body is the grossest. From the head to the toe, this much is the pervasiveness of the body. Some people are little more pervasive than the others, but it is limited. This much only it is. Much more pervasive than the body is our breath. Breath goes everywhere. Breath is more subtler. For the breath to go from here to there is so fast. It just moves. It's there. It just goes fast. For us to reach there, it takes time. But the air is already gone. So it's much more subtler, much more pervasive. The mind is more pervasive than the breath also. Sitting here, I can be in London right now. The thoughts, they are much more pervasive. I perceive the whole universe only because of thought, not because of body or because of breath. But the mind also can function only in the realm of the known. The intellect is subtler than the mind because it can think creatively, it can think out of the box, it can think in the unknown, it can explore the unknown. So buddhi is more powerful, more subtler. And what is that which is the subtlest? Is the pure consciousness, which is all pervasive. Even when the buddhi does not function, it functions. In fact, buddhi is functioning because of consciousness. So the subtlest is the consciousness. Most pervasive, all pervasive is consciousness. Buddhi pervades only in the waking state. In the dream and deep sleep, buddhi is not there. But we saw earlier that consciousness is that which knows Jagra Swapna Sushuptishu, Yo Vijanati Sakalam. It knows everything. So pervasiveness is in terms of subtlety. The subtlest is most pervasive. Consciousness is the all pervasive reality. So it is called subtler than the subtlest also. Subtlest is buddhi. And that buddhi also, one who illumines that, is consciousness, subtler than the subtlest. Hence it is said, Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam. Vyaptam means pervasive. That which is all pervasive. And consciousness is that which is my true nature. So who is all pervasive? I am all pervasive. Just imagine, forgetting my nature as all pervasive, what am I trying to limit myself to? No, I am not all pervasive, I am this one little body only. How foolish is that? It is like a billionaire who is saying, no, all this wealth is not mine, only this 200 rupees are mine. I am only this. I am only happy with this 200. Rest of it is not me. Why am I disowning that? This whole consciousness, this whole universe is pervaded by me and me alone. Only one consciousness pervades everything. In that, this sense of small I is not there. It is gone. Because it does not exist actually. Hence he says here, Yena Vishwamidam Vyaptam Yamna Vyapnoti Kinchana. Nothing pervades it. The effect cannot pervade the cause. Meaning the effect cannot remain without the cause. What is the nature of this? Abha Rupamidam. It is of the nature of light. Sarvam. Abha Rupamidam Sarvam. We say that the light in this world is from the sun, from the moon, from the stars, from the lightning, from the electricity. But from where did all these get the light? They all got the light from consciousness. That's why when we do the arati, what do we say? Natatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Natatra suryo bhati. The surya is symbol of buddhi. The intellect cannot illuminate. Na chandra, the mind cannot illuminate. Na tarakam, this pranas cannot illumine, senses cannot illumine. Kutoyam agnihi. How will this small fire, symbol of senses, how will the senses illumine that which cannot be illumined by the intellect, which cannot be illumined by the mind, which cannot be illumined by the pranas? How will my senses illumine me? In fact, you are the source because of which all these get illumined. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarva. So every time we do the arati, we are not just doing the arati of Bhagavan. We are reminding ourselves that it is the consciousness because of which the BMI are able to perceive, and it is that consciousness which pervades the whole universe. So let go of this identification with the finite. So abharupam idam sarvam yambhantam anubhatyayam. It is that because of which everything else is able to perceive. See, the word I am keeps coming again and again, meaning it is in me as my own self. I am, anubhati I am. So nearness is that which is pointed out by the word I am. Far is that. So if I say this computer, now computer is near me. And say that table, so that table is far. In same way, when we said this consciousness, meaning it is not somewhere far out there. It is here and now. Consciousness is the nearest to me is consciousness. Everything else is far. But today, consciousness has become far to me because of ignorance, because I don't know. It is my nature. Like the waker and the dreamer, they are one. But the dreamer has forgotten his nature as waker, so the waker has become far away. Now the dreamer is identifying with one dream character and now asking who is the creator of this dream. Made it far away. But actually it is the self of that dreamer. In the same way, I am means this consciousness, meaning it is our true self. One more verse. Yasya sannidhi matrena dehendriya manodhiyaha vishayeshu svakiyeshu vartante prerita iva. So if consciousness pervades everything, does it do anything? Is it all this is done by consciousness? No. In its presence, everything else happens. Yasya sannidhi matrena, only by its mere presence, it does not do anything. It is akarta abhokta. Because if consciousness becomes the doer, it becomes changing, perishing, finite. Consciousness is never the doer, it is illuminer. Bas, it just illumines. But in its presence, everything else functions. Yasya sannidhi matrena dehendriya manodhiya. The body, the deha, indriya, senses, mana, mind, dhiya, intellect. Vishayeshu svakiyeshu pravartante. They all engage in their own respective fields. Vartante prerita iva. Because they are illumined, empowered by the mere presence of that consciousness. How to understand that? Just like the sun doesn't do anything, but the moment the sun rises, everybody starts doing. Surya lokam yatha janaha. Atma Bodh says that. Beautiful example Shankaracharya ji gave in that. Surya lokam yatha janaha. Just like people, they get up as soon as the sun rises, one gets up, one gets ready, one starts doing the work. The sun is not doing anything. But in the presence of the sun, everyone starts functioning. In the same way, electricity is not doing anything. In the presence of electricity, bulb gives light. With one switch, thousands of bulbs will get lit. Does that mean consciousness is functioning through each of them and then consciousness must be so tired? No, it illumines. The whole universe is pervaded by consciousness. Everyone is enveloped by only consciousness. Every equipment is functioning because of consciousness. But consciousness is not doing anything. This is called sannidhi matra. This aspect is taken up in management also today. The highest form of management is called management by consciousness, management by presence. A great leader, in the presence of that great leader, things start happening because the vision that leader has. So I was saying that the presence that the leader has is enough to inspire everybody to function. The leader does not have to do anything. But the very fact that the leader is present motivates people, makes them feel strong, makes them feel that, oh yes, this person is with us. And they are inspired by the vision, the love, the presence, so many things. So, like a small child, another example is a very small child. A small child doesn't have to do anything. The very presence of that small child invokes so much of love in the hearts of all the family members. A small child is another example for that. So, yasya sannidhi matrena, by its mere presence, it illumines the equipment, and the equipment are able to function, deriving the power from the source. Dehendriya manodhiya, vishayeshu svakiyeshu. Each one engages in their own respective fields. Eyes will start seeing, ears will start hearing, nose will start smelling, mind will start coordinating all of these, intellect will start thinking. All of them start functioning on their own. Respective jobs they will do because of the presence of this consciousness. So yasya sannidhi matena. So this is to tell us that though consciousness pervades everything, consciousness empowers everything, but it is not become the doer. This is an important aspect to understand, that consciousness is not the doer. Because many times we think like that. Consciousness is doing something. Even though it knows, the nature of consciousness is knowledge, it has not become the knower. Illumining that mind and intellect, the mind and intellect get the capacity to know. Consciousness has not become the doer, the enjoyer. Because if we do that, if we think consciousness has become the doer and the enjoyer, consciousness will get destroyed. Why? Because it becomes changing. The doership in us keeps changing. The notion of the small I keeps on changing. And that small I is the karta, the small I is the bhokta. Consciousness is the witness of the small I, karta and bhokta, both. If consciousness does not illumine, how will we even know kartritva bhav and bhoktritva bhav? So there are a lot of logical fallacies also which will arise, practical issues which will arise. Consciousness becomes destructible. Hence, this verse is to say the consciousness does not do anything, but in its presence, everything else happens. So these are a few verses. Some more are there. We will continue tomorrow. Any doubts, anything to share? Welcome to ask.
Hari Om Swamiji, Mukesh Trivedi. Swamiji, I was just a bit baffled in that way, that when the consciousness is all pervasive and it can do everything on its own, what is the need of the equipments? Why the equipments are required?
See, just like the fire example, fire by itself will not do anything. It is there, its presence is there, it will give warmth. Consciousness, as I said, is not the karta. To do an action, kartritva bhav is required, karana is required, and then the karma happens. An objective of karma has to be there, and the karma phala is there. Consciousness doesn't have any of this. So consciousness doesn't even need to do anything, and it doesn't do anything actually. Identifying with the one body, one equipment, when this jiva bhav arises and we feel that we are limited, we are incomplete, and we want to become complete by doing some karma, by getting some result. So the motive to do is there in the equipment. Because the equipment, consciousness identifying with the equipment is giving rise to this feeling of small I. That small I is the karta. In the state of deep sleep, when we are not having that karta, is there any need to do any action? There is no prompting, there is no desire, there is nothing, there is absolute bliss. But of course, we don't know it, ignorance is there. And hence it is that in the pure state of consciousness, there is no karta, there is no karma, there is no karana, there is nothing. This is why it says, aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta, chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. So it's not that consciousness is capable of doing and it is not doing. No, it doesn't need to do anything. It is fulfilled already. It is one infinite pure consciousness. But identifying with an equipment, when this kartritva bhav arises, that karta feels incomplete and the karta wants to do. So karta is able to do because of consciousness. So that is the analogy. That's the reasoning.
Thank you.
Yeah, Swamiji, my question was that you said that a witness in all the three states is same, right? But then why do I feel that the witness in me is different from the witness in you?
Because it's only a notion in our mind. No, it is not. What is the proof to say that witness in me is different from witness in you? It's just a thought in our mind which is saying that witness in me is different from witness in you. When I identify with the witness in me completely, consciousness in me, I will at that very moment realize that, Arey, this is the same consciousness everywhere. When we come to that state in meditation, when we drop all our false identification with the BMI and identify only with the pure consciousness, what is the realization of the master? The realization of the master is that Madatma Sarva Bhutatma. And my Atma is Atma of all the beings. Where is the difference? There is no difference at all. It is this body and the mind which is making us feel I am different, you are different. First of all, fundamental difference comes there. The very notion that you are different from me is who is different. The body is different, mind is different, intellect is different. And if I am saying that that is me, that's the false identification. If I withdraw from that completely and come to consciousness as a Sakshi, there is no difference. So till I identify with the equipment, I will always feel, okay, the bulb, if you identify with, there are 100 bulbs. So I think electricity of each bulb is different. No. If I withdraw my attention from the bulb to the electricity is one in all. But if I see the bulb, then I feel this electricity is different, that electricity is different. Because my attention is on the bulb, not on the electricity.
Okay, thank you, Swamiji. I've understood.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.